Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Secretary Kerry. I appreciate the opportunity to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to, before I get into the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment and some other projects, I do want to touch base on nuclear energy. That has been somewhat controversial. Obviously, ensuring we have sufficient base load generation is significant. I served in the Michigan legislature, spent 6 years on the Energy and Technology Committee. I serve on the Financial Services Committee and do a lot of work with the development banks and have over my tenure here. And I have in my district potentially one of the first projects. It's called the Palisades Power Plant in Covert, Michigan, that may be restarted. It's a program that is new. It was on the brink of decommissioning and could come back. You know, obviously the United States is working to reassert itself as a global energy leader. I think it's wise, as we saw with what was happening in Europe, that we break our own as well as our allies' dependence on energy resources of global bad actors. So I'm curious, do you believe that that projects like Palisades and others that potentially are on there would help us achieve these goals and reduce CO2 emissions? Or what's your view on restarting some of these nuclear power plants?
The Biden administration is very proactive on the nuclear front. We believe that that you can't really reach the targets that have been set without some nuclear.
Okay, all right. I want to, I think I've got about 3 minutes here, so I'm going to try and move quickly. COP26, you and Romanian President Klaus Iohannis pledged that Romania would build a small modular nuclear reactor project in which the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment invested $14 million. Are there any concerns that your policy and willingness to or potential willingness to forego financial viability of projects to satisfy the environmental side? I mean, are you looking at the business model as you are involved in these?
Of course, it's imperative.
Okay. All right. I want to move to a question regarding sort of your scope and authority. I think this is a new position, very new to a lot of people. Including those of us that are constitutionally obligated to have oversight of those things. And I'm curious, does your funding, just making sure I understand, does your funding to fund your 45 full-time equivalents, your FTEs, as well as your salary and your travel, does that all come out of the State Department?
Yes.
Okay. Yet you do not report to Secretary Blinken, correct?
Well, sure I do. I mean,
but
as a friend of mine.
I'm not trying to create a trap.
No,
here.
no,
I'm just
I know
trying
you're
to
not.
understand.
I know you're not. I'm just trying to say, formally, in terms of strict legal accountability,
Okay.
I report to the President of the United States.
Okay,
but
that's great.
Informally, obviously, I keep the Secretary completely. There's only one Secretary.
That's informed. Yes.
We keep him fully informed.
And having served in that
consult
position,
with him.
Reclaiming my time on this.
Sure, go ahead.
You certainly served in that position. In that position, you had the authority and the ability to negotiate on behalf of the United States, and had ability to bind it or speak on behalf of the president. What are the scopes of your duties with this, and under what authority are you able to go in and be able to all intents and purposes negotiate on behalf of the United States?
Well, I'm negotiating. I'm formally charged by the President of the United States and his executive authority, and the appropriate congressional notification and approval, an executive order, et cetera, that created the job. So we have had special envoys for years and years and years, and we've used envoys.
I don't think anything with quite this scope.
Well, that may be because of the scope of the problem.
Sure. All right. I need to hit one last thing here. In March 9, 2022, an email from the Specs Office Senior Director of Climate Finance, the official wrote that a call or meeting should be held with you soon, saying, quote, I would also suggest a call or meeting soon with JK to update him on FY '22 and '23, focusing on all the elements we can't put on paper. What are those elements that couldn't be put on paper?
I have no idea.
So it sounds like we need to pull him in to ask that question?
Well,
Or
I
are
don't
you
know.
willing to go ask and find out
I
what
would
exactly he was?
personally, absolutely. I'm not sure what it is that couldn't be put on paper.
All right, and I know my time is expiring here, but it's my understanding that there is a FOIA request for the fiscal 2022 that State Department has said they will not be able to fulfill until 2025, April of 2025. Does that
I
sound
think
right to you?
yeah, no, it doesn't sound right, but it sounds accurate.
Would that be acceptable?
spoke-
You and your senatorial.
No, that's not acceptable, and I believe it was an algorithm that kicked that out kind of crazily. Maybe that's a metaphor for other kinds of challenges, but no, I'm confident that I can't imagine any FOIA that would take that long.
So you'll pledge to work with us on expediting that?
Well, we will communicate to the office that you're asking and that it's important to try to get to it as soon as possible.
Mr. Secretary, I know you have travel, and we have one more member.